Welcome back. Some random moves in the market now. The top gainers now, is something like a Reliance Communication, which is up about 5.5%, and there's JP Associates as well, which is up quite a bit. Just pull out that stock as well. Of course, these things happen, but for the market also, there's been quite a bit of move, which has happened. One more stock, which really has been making some real moves ever since that merger got the approval, and is IDFC Bank. Just pull out that stock intraday. I think it's now up almost 5%. It's seeing massive buying. There's quite a bit of jump in open interest as well. That's a fresh breakout which is now happening in IDFC Bank. I remember talking about this stock, it was from 37, 38, about last month, and how that impending merger really was leading to this kind of move, and perhaps a potential re-rating. I think some part of that has played out, but some more perhaps might be order of the day, the way the stock is rallying 5%. But we have Ashwini Gujral and Mitesh Thakkar with us for BTST calls. Ashwini, you go first.
See, I don't think on the indices much has changed, and you can at best call them sideways. Now the point here is that how well does the US respond to whatever pullback it's going to have in the evening. Having said that, I think the clear trade right now is probably going short on IT stocks, mid-cap IT particularly. So Mindtree is a sell with a stop of 820, target of 790. Tata Elxsi is a sell with a stop of 1020, target of 965. And Edelweiss you can buy with a stop of 178, target of 190.
Okay, yeah, a couple of these mid-cap IT stocks have had a rough ride today. Mitesh, by the way, we're back 50 points higher on the Nifty. So now last half hour, what are your trades?
So Surabhi, I had a buy on Delta Corp. I think that's moved up slightly, but around 255 can be bought with a stop at 251 for targets of 266. But the key here is that the medium-term chart structure is also improving. So I think once this 266, 272 zone is taken out, I think then you will see a bigger momentum coming. And the other one is the BTST on ICICI Prudential. That's a buy with a stop at 320 half for targets of 328.
Okay, Piramal Enterprises is the other one, which is seeing quite a bit of short covering bounce. I think the stock, just pull out that intraday chart. Just in the last 10 minutes of it, there's quite a bit of buying which has taken place on Piramal Enterprises, almost up 3%. Mitesh, quick chart check on Piramal and also Manappuram, the stock that we were just talking about.
Yeah, Anuj, Piramal I think has had a good pullback yesterday and bouncing back from keys moving averages area. I think the recent highs of 2400 should be cleared this time, and once it does that, I think 2500 is the next target over here. Manappuram has already been in some kind of a rally. In fact, if you look at the last 2 weeks of performance, the stock has been moving up and now it's showing continuation. So if somebody wants to enter afresh, today's low should be a key reference point just below 93. Keep your stop and look for targets of 100.
Ashwini, this metal trade, right now people are having a field day. I mean, anyway, it was a strong day for metal since morning, and then this Chinese news. Would you sort of look at anything fresh here, whether Hindalco, Tata Steel, JSW, anything?
See, the metal index made a fresh low, yesterday, and today it's a bounce back. So my sense is that the metal index could get back towards 3200. It's 2980 right now. And similarly, Tata Steel, Vedanta, all of these guys can have a 5 to 8% type rally, but it remains in a fairly strong downtrend. So once that pullback is done, you will see fresh lows here.
Okay, just pull out the Nifty contribution now, and I think that's the point that I wanted to make here on the Nifty contribution, Surabhi, and the stock that we're watching out for in our top 10 as well. HDFC. 15-point contribution now from HDFC. Pull out the intraday chart on that one. That was the stock to watch for top 10 today. And once again it emphasizes perhaps the importance of just respecting the basic risk reward. From the channel, took support and just bounced back. today's FI data would be quite interesting. I'm not saying that they would be buying, because in general there's been quite a bit of selling. But the institutional data overall today would be quite interesting. But HDFC is seeing a bit of a bounce, 2% higher. Deepan, before we thank you, just wanted your thoughts on HDFC. It's corrected a bit at 1972. Is it a buy for you?
Absolutely, I think it's more like an evergreen buy for anyone, and it's there in most portfolios as a core holding. Company continues to grow at 15-17%, and now even if there's a slight slowdown in the top line, I think they're making huge gains as far as their operating costs are concerned by use of technology, and credit costs also will remain well within control. So I think looking forward to good numbers coming out from HDFC Bank and the other private sector banks, and again a bank which will report earnings early. So you could say some amount of pre-earnings buying is taking place in HDFC Bank.
The one sector of the market that was dragging its feet right from the morning was the IT space. Let's look at a couple of the intraday trades now. TCS has also cut its losses, as has Infosys. This is something that Anuj was just pointing out in the break. So this is one, of course, watch area.
I think more than that, I think mid-cap IT, Surabhi, I think Mindtree in particular, where you had just one-way slam dunk in the morning. I think that's the one where you're seeing, some kind of intraday recovery. This one-to-one correlation between perhaps Nasdaq falling and Indian IT falling, I think does not work. And also, I think even for currency also, there's been a bit of a cool-off, so that perhaps would have helped. But I think mid-cap IT more particularly stands out.
Okay, well, let's bring in Dilip Bhatt into the conversation, Joint MD at Prabhudas Leeladhar. Dilip, good afternoon to you. Let's actually make that our first question, because we're getting into earnings season. What are you expecting from some of these IT majors, and would you buy fresh at the moment?
Well, I think the IT pack will have a mixed kind of results. I think the front lines like Infosys, TCS, Tech Mahindra will still continue to show, and even HCL Tech will still continue to show a reasonable good growth. I think quarter on quarter, anywhere between 1 to 3%. But I think by and large, IT pack from the current level appears a little more stretched. Maybe they can provide a good defense in this volatile markets. But I think with the tailwind in terms of the rupee not being there at the moment, and there is no clear visibility now for quite some time in terms of the volume growth, and also whether they've got their pricing power back, which doesn't appear to be the case. With all this thing, I don't think that IT pack can really give any great returns from here on. But surely on a risk return basis, it can provide a very good and solid defense to your portfolio.
Okay, Dilip, hi, good afternoon. What about ICICI Bank? For a lot of people, it's been marked as the leader of the next bull market. Your thoughts?
Well, I think ICICI Bank also is amongst our top picks at the moment. And I think more important, because the environment in the financial side has changed. We are finding that, as we all know, that NBFCs are still trying to readjust to the new realities. And in the meanwhile, I think the corporate banking is something which we all know has come back. And within that space, I think ICICI still stands a much better chance of capitalizing on this and taking away the opportunities which otherwise was being catered to by some of the NBFCs. So I think in this particular space, with ICICI being adequately capitalized in terms of capital adequacy ratio, should be able to capture a good credit growth in that, as also have some kind of pricing power, so that may increase their NIMs. All in all, I think ICICI Bank really looks pretty good for next 2 years.
By the way, some of these movie exhibition stocks, PVR, Inox Leisure, they're really moving higher now. Inox is about 6% on the upside. And let's pull up PVR as well. Yeah, PVR also days high. I don't know if it's just the weekend factor or if there's some resolution on the food issue in Maharashtra that's still, I think, in the courts. But those are some big moves in these stocks.
I tell you something, just take a bit of a time here. I think over the last few weeks, one very interesting thing has happened. I think first it was Thugs of Hindustan which bombed, and then I think it was Zero which bombed. But in between, we have had so many movies like Badhai Ho, I think Andhadhun, countless last year, for example, Sonu Ke Titu Ki Sweetie.
The smaller budget.
The small budget ones, which are doing really well. I think Simba's, of course, Simba's A grade.
That's a multi-starrer.
But still not perhaps in that same league as a Thugs of Hindustan, or perhaps, the point is that over the last 10 years, the movie exhibitors would get a very small amount of revenues. Most of that would go to some of these big, production houses, and also because, they'll have big stars like the Khans, and the Hrithik Roshans of the world. I think that's changing a bit. PVR has got into a business of producing some of its own movies.
Yeah.
And if you reach a stage where content is going to be the bigger factor, in that case, that could be very interesting. I think, of course, it's not tomorrow's story. It's going to happen over the next 3 or 4 years. But, they have the screens now. They have cornered all the screens, these two giants, PVR and Inox.
Yeah.
I think over the next 8 or 10 years, if they play it smartly, I think they've got good things going for them.
Well, there's always demand that you cannot deny for good content. You want to comment on this? Dilip, movie exhibition stocks, any interest in this zone?
I think surely, I think both this PVR and Inox looks pretty good and interesting because they are absolutely in a very sweet spot. And I think the way they're adding to their overall number of theatres, I think that also bodes well. Maybe it is little capital intensive to some extent, but I think this entire trajectory is one which is definitely going northwards in terms of their business and in terms of their revenue receipts. And I think they are really making good money on all the other main items like the snacks and whatever they serve in this particular theatre. So overall, I think it's a very good business to be in, and I think both these companies, particularly over next 2 to 3 years, still should make much above average returns, and even their ROEs, I think, could be very good in the times to come, apart from good cash flows.
Okay, Tata Steel, by the way, is now really surging. It's almost 2.5% higher on that stock. There was that one big move. After that, some consolidation. This second move, which is now taking place on that stock. And the mid-cap market, let's put out Biocon's intraday chart. I think in the morning it was one of the weaker stocks. That's reversed. So Biocon is making a bit of a move. Godfrey Phillips from the broader market, that's now seeing a move to the high point of the day. A lot of these mid-caps are moving. In fact, the advanced decline has just about crisscrossed once again in favor of the advances. PNB has been a big mover, especially in the last 2 hours. The entire PSU banking pack has done well. PNB, of course, has been the biggest underperformer even in this pack, but finally even that's making up 4.5% higher on that stock. And Arvind is the other one where you're seeing some bit of gains. That as well over the last few minutes. That one moving to the high point of the day. Dish TV as well. Again, a stock which has destroyed a lot of wealth, but from the absolute lows, there's a bit of a rally which is on 6% higher on that one. And talking about some more financials, Max Financial is rallying 4.5%. Dilip, your thoughts on a stock like Max Financial? Seen a bit of a rally over the last few days.
Well, I think Max Financial on an overall basis continues to do pretty well. But if I'm correct, I think this is one company which is now being taken over by Radiant as well as by KKR put together. So I think this company, in my opinion, can really be a good long-term investment. There is no doubt that their growth will continue to be pretty solid, and in a way they are kind of holding company too at the same time. So all in all, this is something which one can take a bet on a longer term basis and expect at least 18 to 20% return in this.
Back, there's so much of movement beneath the surface. Pull out the graph of Dish TV, the intraday chart. 5.5%, 6% suddenly up on this stock. Big move coming through on Dish. Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Dilip, any thoughts here? Because, I mean, stock's gone through the motions. A lot of questions about what Jio, Giga Fiber is going to do, etc. Interesting pullback this afternoon, at least.
So, well, we haven't been tracking Dish TV off late, but I think post-merger with the Videocon group, I think we were expecting a good spike in the overall margins because of the considerable cost savings, apart from the fact that the market share would go up considerably. But all that has really been neutralized because on a macro basis of because of the fear of what Jio can do. There is no real hard evidence available at the moment as to what Jio can do, but still the fear is hanging very heavily on this particular stock and this entire space. So as a rule, I think I wouldn't really be so keen to look at it from the investment point of view as far as Dish TV is concerned.
I'll tell you something though, Surabhi, I think Bharti Infratel really is the one which stands out. Highest delivery buying yesterday, and I think it's on course for bigger delivery buying today. And I tell you something, there's something changing here. You were making this point about investor presentation. Someone's in a hurry, and it's years of underperformance. Tulsian was making this point. I think he was extremely bullish on the stock. I think just keep an eye on this one. I think this looks set for some serious re-rating, purely going by the price volume action of last 2 days.
I just want to highlight some points. I don't know if you have the graphics very quickly to talk about. I mean, the company is making some pretty strong claims. They're saying ROE is going to improve, and the numbers they gave out in the presentation seem impressive, from 15.8% to 18.5%. They're talking about an EPS accretion right from the time that the merger comes in, the merger with the Indus Towers. And once that happens, we'll probably have some more M&A action, because Bharti Airtel wants to sell a chunk of its stake in Bharti Infratel to raise money. So we'll probably have some more institutional action coming in as well. 6% up on that stock. Dilip, is it on your radar at all, this one or the parent, Bharti? Any thoughts here?
Well, not the Infratel, but Bharti Airtel certainly. Though it appears to be a little more defensive, the way it has not really fared in the markets, but Bharti Airtel will still face the same problems as the rest of the companies in this pack. Capital intensity is going to be pretty high, and the ARPUs continue to be pretty negligible, and the damage, which of course Jio is making, is very strong. So I think the ROEs also will continue to be very poor. All in all, I don't think this is a stock that one should bet on, though a lot of people do feel that this is something where it can provide a good defense to the portfolio. I am seriously not of that opinion.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, we are getting into the close, so let's just start winding things down. Anuj, it has, you have to say it's been a difficult day, choppy day, but a pretty interesting pullback towards the end.
Yeah, I think, difficult if you did random things, but frankly speaking, if you sort of just respected basic of buying the plunges, I think you made money.
And the basic boundaries that
basic
you're talking
boundaries,
about.
I think the market, for me, the takeaway also of today was that the market still does not have perhaps trigger to break down, just like it did not have trigger to break out about 10,950. You can throw all the bad news at the market, Dow down 660 points, crude surging to 57, whatever. But a basic boundary of 10,550, 600 for now is being respected. If it breaks, we'll take that. But for now, the market may have made once again a higher bottom. 10,330, remember, on the election day. 10,530, the last low on Boxing Day, 26 December. I think today perhaps we may have made a bit of a higher low. In terms of index stocks, of course, a lot of these financial names moved. HDFC was the top contributor to the index. Axis Bank made a move. Yes Bank was higher in trade. Even ICICI Bank and Axis Bank. Axis, in fact, was up about 2%. Bharti Infratel, of course, was the top index gainer. That doesn't account for much on the index though. But in 2 days, it's gained 10% now. So that was quite interesting. And of course, metals moved after that news from China. So Vedanta, Tata Steel, JSW Steel, all ending higher. A couple of other stocks like BPCL, Indiabulls Housing, ONGC also gaining ground. While on the way down, you had IT, which was down. Though off the lowest point of the day, this has to be said. Stocks like Infosys, Tech Mahindra, HCL Tech, all of them down between 1 to 2%. Larsen & Toubro was down a bit. Hero MotoCorp, there's in fact fresh bit of selling in names like Hero, Eicher Motors. So two-wheelers are seeing some more derating. But overall, a good day, you'll have to say.
Even for the mid-cap market, a decent day, Anuj, you'd have to sort of count that in. Today, some of the banks, whether it's private sector or PSU, beyond the index, they've all done really well today. So Syndicate, PNB, Union Bank, Allahabad, Karnataka, DCB, gains range between 2% and 5-6%, depending on which stock you're looking at. So banks definitely finding takers. Then you had the moves coming in on the cinema exhibition plays that we were just discussing. Inox Leisure is going home with a gain of over 5.5%, PVR about 3% on the upside. Speaking of entertainment, Delta Corp, very smart move on that stock as well. 4% on Delta Corp as we are closing things out. Dish TV, so really all about weekend stocks, I think. So Dish TV had a nice late surge, taking it 4.5% on the higher side. IDFC Bank, I forgot to mention this one when we're talking about bank stocks. Anyway, lots of excitement ahead of the merged entity coming through. So 5% on that stock as well. Let's see what else stood out if I've missed out anything. These are, most of the names. LIC Housing Finance, DHFL, a couple of these NBFC names also did pretty okay for themselves. On the flip side, you do have a couple of large stocks that continue to see selling pressure. Page Industries is one of them. It's again lost about 3% in today's trading action. And then there has been a weakness on some of the IT names, mid-cap IT, KPIT Tech, Tata Elxsi. These are stocks on the lower side. Also, watch out for Jubilant Foodworks. Jubilant has also been under pressure. It's been down between 2 to 2.5% today. Motherson, these are other names, and these are stocks that are struggling. Mid-cap IT struggled, and some of the big consumer names like Jubilant and Page Industries, they have struggled today. But other than that, a pretty good day for mid-caps as well. Let's take closing thoughts with our guests then. Ashwini, how would you read the picture, and what would the advice be for Monday now?
See, it's basically choppy. And I don't think you can extrapolate beyond, say, 950 or, beyond 650. So basically an individual stock market. Intraday, you will get your 50, 100 points up and down. But I don't think you can really carry positions and make it into a 2-3 day type move. So that way, I don't think swing trading is quite on. And for the moment, let's see how far this rally sustains. Because again, we haven't really crossed the 200-day moving average or some such benchmark which would have given more confidence to people. So, you will get these intraday collapse and intraday rallies for, fairly frivolous reasons. But the issue is that now the range is narrowing from 1,000 points to now 350 points, and that presents its own challenges. So stay with individual stocks. That's probably the better way to go.
Okay. Mitesh, what would your call be for Monday?
So two things. I think, one, we are close to the 10,720, 750 zone. We are actually practically inside that. And if we see follow through beyond 10,750, 760, maybe you will see more stability and back to the range of 10,725 to about 10,900. But in case we don't, then I think we should immediately see weakness. If not by Monday, then definitely by Tuesday.
Okay. Dilip, final thoughts? Any stock idea, anything that's on your radar that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I think markets will continue to be a little more unpredictable, but I think some of the stocks like Larsen & Toubro looks pretty good and pretty interesting. I think you just were speaking about IDFC Bank. I think that also will be on a risk-return basis, will be pretty good and interesting from here on. So I think a couple of these names look pretty good.